filet burrito.
Thanks, Ron.
Hey, no.
It's all shits and giggles until they do a fourth. When you know that it's not just an unnecessary trilogy, they're just going to keep on going past that. That's when you realize that these are never going to end until families stop going to movie theaters. The end of time. Despicable Me 4 stars Steve Carell as Gru, and I mean, they really try to make you forget that there are other characters. Not so much by excluding them, although that does happen entirely to Gru's mother and Drew, thank God, but just by like including so many characters and each giving them like the tiniest little thing to do that you're kind of like, oh, right. What happened with their story? Did that go anywhere? I don't remember. Like, even by the end of the film, I'm like, Agnes and Edith had like a thing going on in the credit class. They got like some kind of resolution there, right? Barely. Like, that's the kind of energy of it at this stage, okay? This one includes new characters again. That's their problem. They can't stop just ringing in new characters and new merchandising opportunities and just leaving the old ones to the side, like dying, like wilting at like... He's even got a new child this time that he cares about, while the three girls just nope. So they bring in new characters like Will Ferrell playing a cockroach man. Sofia Vergara, great comedian, great actor, playing the henchman girlfriend who has no character. Doesn't do anything funny, like she's a great comedian. She's given no kind of character here. And Joey King playing a young supervillain teen that he mentors. Gru has 3 daughters who have all been exposed to his villainry and shenanigans over the years. And he had to go find some other completely different teenage girl to teach villainry to. God damn it. Basically, they kind of said, oh, what if there was an older villain mentoring a younger one, which was just the plot of Minions, The Rise of Gru. And Gru even complains that she's like too young to be a villain. And like, as if we haven't just watched 2 films with you as an annoying, obnoxious little 11-year-old being a villain. Yeah. But they also do the Gru gets sucked involuntarily back into villainry, which was just Despicable Me 3. And it is just a hodgepodge, not just of the previous films, but of just bits and ideas and things, you know? The minions are off getting superpowers. Like, which just could have been done as a Minions film. Why do they keep doing them as period pieces when they could just be like, oh, these ones are, like, they're still with Gru, but, like, they're off doing this thing to help this guy out right now. Like, I guess the only thing about this that's surprising is that it didn't break all these different ideas up into, like, 3 or 4 films to keep this bloated mess of a franchise alive for 10 more years. I mean, like, and the Minions side quest in particular, like, there is basically very little difference between a Despicable Me and a Minions film at this stage. The last couple of Despicable Me films have had such heavy Minions off doing their own thing side quests, but the last Minions film, admittedly it's a prequel, but it had Gru, like, off doing his own story and the Minions separate from him most of the time, just like these ones. The idea is just becoming the same kind of template, and every time the Minions get turned into something, or become something. Last time it was like Kung Fu Masters, this time it's superheroes, but they've also already been like turned into like giant kaiju, and they've also, you know, they're meeting monsters in the next one, and I'm sure they'll all be turned into monsters as well, or some nonsense, like they've already been turned into animals in one of them, like they've done every, well, I guess maybe not every possible version of this, but they must be running out of ideas at a certain point, right? Because it is getting like silly, and also I feel like I mean, there's been so many like superhero parody things at this stage, it is hard to stand out, but like they really did nothing with it. They couldn't even like, I don't know, there was just very little there. And there is just that sense of this being so all over the place. You know, I've actually grown exhausted enough of this franchise that I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever about most of it. And maybe that's the reason that watching this, I'm kind of like, this isn't as bad as the last couple. I prefer this to probably either of the Minions films or Despicable Me 3. This is like borderline, like, yeah, maybe 3rd place in the whole franchise for me. And I think that is just down to it being like all over the place, but having lots of like little bits. Like, it really doesn't care about a cohesive overarching story or plot. You know, like, it has, like, the first bit where they're trying to, like, settle into their new home, and the bit at school with Gru and Will Ferrell's villain revealing that he's a cockroach man. Like, it feels more like these are almost like little skits and bits. You know, Gru, like, oh, takes this girl under his wing, and then they go off and do that bit, and that's kind of the middle of the film. Each act is almost its entirely own separate film, or story, or thing, you know? And they all kind of vaguely tie together well enough to make it work. And then the minions are just kind of completely off doing their own thing, and that doesn't hardly ever link in. But there's too many characters and there's too many ideas and plot threads going on to make any of it that good, but it is like each bit of it is kind of entertaining enough, I guess, that it felt like it moved quickly, this one. You know, none of these films are long. Despicable Me films max out at about 95 minutes, probably. Which is a good thing. I don't think they should be longer. This one, it did actually just feel like it moved quickly, whereas some of the more recent ones, they don't feel like that. I do think the problem is that outside of maybe like the supermarket scene where Lucy is hiding and then running from the lady she angered, there's not like any real standout moments, I guess. Like, that's all this needed. Even being as incohesive and all over the place as it is and having so many characters, like, it wouldn't have mattered so much if there'd been just more like genuinely funny, memorable moments. There just isn't. This franchise has reached the point where it's just reeling out like the most forgettable like part of the summer season, you know, in blockbuster terms. I mean, if you would call these blockbusters, they make enough money to be blockbusters. That's where they are now, like just every 2 years, pretty much like clockwork, except for COVID. They're just kind of throwing out like, oh, here's the next one, Despicable Me or Minions, back and forth, and it's going to be incredibly forgettable. It's not a film you're ever going to watch again. This is my second time watching this one, but I didn't want it to be. And I guess that's the problem. Like, it does have moments. You know, Poppy and her cat just randomly doing that, like, dance mat thing to Through the Fire and the Flames. Brilliant. Not awesome, you know, and it does have a few moments like that. The honey badger scene, like, fine. But, like, there's a lot of just irritating things about it. Like, Gru's baby is just annoying. It's just annoying. I just don't like that they did it. Don't feel like they needed to do it. He could have much more taken one of the girls under his wing instead. Anything, like, there's just different ways to go about that. This just felt like here's a new thing instead of the same girls. You've seen them before, and they just desperately continue refusing to give any of them a story. Especially Edith. Edith, the villain, who lies so well. They comment on that in this film, and is so like up for like evil and danger. She would never want to become a villain, and like Gru could take her under his wing. Like, you know what I mean? I do just dislike the inconsistency of this franchise, I guess. There's so many things, you know, like Gru saying, oh, Poppy, you're too young to be a villain, even though he was younger than her when he did all of this shit, stealing the crown jewels of England. Like, but also, like, the villain school? Like, evil person Hogwarts? Like, you're telling me that happened? Like, Gru went there? You know the way in like the John Wick franchise, like they keep introducing more around this like underworld that you never knew about, and they kind of make it make sense. The writing is good enough that it mostly makes sense how that all works. This is the opposite. This is like Gru. We've seen him already as an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old, like being a full-on villain already. Never once was school mentioned. He was taken under the wing of Wild Knuckles, right? And he taught him everything. Never once was the school mentioned. You can just tell that most of the people who make these films has never bothered to watch most of these films. Oh, it's crazy. Also, there's just something icky about Maxine turning Gru Jr. in that final act into a bug. Like, that was just like a... I don't like it. And also, can we just once, not have a bunch of Gru's family members being kidnapped to make the final act higher stakes? Like, you know, every time. Every time. It's really annoying. It's gotten very tiresome. And the finale also just included the same kind of, oh, there's a giant thing trying to squash Gru. It wasn't quite a kaiju again. It was a giant robot for the second Despicable Me film in a row. But you get the idea. It gets very exhausting. And also, like, the random being turned into stuff. Science is used to build giant robots and to create, well, transform things into other things. Usually giant things. Not in this one. No, they just did that with the last Minions film, so left the proper kaijus out of this one. The 2 bits of real proof you need that there were just way too many characters here are, number 1, Dr. Nefario turns up in the last 2 minutes to fix the baby, turn it human again. And I was like, genuinely like, oh my god, he's a thing, he's a character. Like, whoa. But also, in the finale, Maxine falls down off the building. And then 3 separate waves of characters who weren't even there for the finale turn up. Like, all the minions who have not been involved, all the super minions and stuff, they just run them through, run them over. That's the conclusion to their story, proving that minions can be superheroes. What? And then, like, the girls and Lucy and everyone turns up, and then Poppy turns up as, like... mad. It's just way too many characters. I can only, like, dare to fathom what they're going to try to do to fit everyone in a 5th Despicable Me film when they bring in even more characters on top of all these ones. Terrifying idea, and I'm giving... one more of these might kill me. 2.5 stars. They're so desperate for fan service, they put every single villain from this franchise in that final prison scene. Even, like, Scarlet Overkill, who was, like, in her 40s, maybe, in the 1960s. Like... it's